Hey everybody, it's LavenderTowne, and today I'm continuing my series where I turn random stuff into cute character designs, and today we are doing console controllers. This was all inspired by that new PS5 controller that everyone said either looked like a tank top or a girl's legs. That immediately got me thinking about my cute girl series, and I could not help myself. So obviously we're going to start with the PS5 controller. Now this is a rare case where I have a ton of possible silhouettes to pull from this particular item. Obviously I'm going to put her in a black tank top, as well as having these strange white pants because of the way the controller is paneled. She's going to have quite a dramatic thigh gap. Maybe not the most realistic, but certainly makes for an interesting stance. I decided for her personality for her to be kind of like tough and standoffish just based on that stance. At first I was kind of thinking she should be shy because the controller is brand new and just being sort of released, but this really felt right for her. I also put in some like bumpers, you know, the bumpers on the back of the controller. I put those on her head as well as some other places. I also put them on her hips. The ones in her hair are supposed to kind of look like barrettes, and I also had another little hair detail I put in there that was supposed to look like the sort of shape of the D-pad, because I looked at the controller and I thought it kind of looked like a flower, like it's sort of pretty. So that's another thing I wanted to sort of incorporate, as well as her actual haircut is kind of designed around the shape of the controller as well. Like her bangs are sort of like the middle white panel, and then they have these sort of like droopy A-line kind of haircut in the front, you know what I mean? I also couldn't help myself and do the PlayStation freckles that I did back when I did consoles as cute girls, like 2 years ago or something. This video is kind of the spiritual successor to that, and that was actually one of my very first cute girl videos, so it's all coming around right now. I love the PlayStation like symbol, so I tried to put them all over her, and I even ended up using it as a pattern in her tank top later on because I thought it would just make it a little bit more exciting. I know it probably should have just stayed as a stable black tank top, but it's just so boring. I think I'm adverse to using just tank tops on my character designs because I used to only draw characters with either a hoodie or a tank top on back when I was like first learning how to draw. So it's like one of those things I try to avoid nowadays just out of like an aversion to how I used to do things. I also tried to keep her whole color palette really like true to the controller, so very monochromatic, and I would say almost all of the controllers that I looked at are so monochromatic, like there's just not a lot of color, with the exception of the next one. They almost always are black and white with one accent color. So the accent color for PlayStation seems to be this like bright blue color, so because it's sort of glowing in the controller, I had her blue eyes sort of glow, and I also ended up changing the tank top straps to blue that glows because the tank top on the controller is actually like these blue lines. So that's how she turned out. I think she looks cute. Next up are the Joy-Cons. Now the Joy-Cons are one of the most exciting looking, I would say, of all the like modern controllers that are out right now. They come in these like teal and red colors unless you get the gray one. I really wanted to draw them as like little kids and also twins. I thought that would be so cute, and of course they get along really well because they're always like synced up to each other. I wanted them to be perfectly symmetrical, so even though I drew one of these sketches like in its entirety, I ended up just deleting it so that I could like copy and paste them so that they were perfectly symmetrical to each other. And then there were a few details that I wanted to make sure to change up, like the placement of their bag. Their bag is basically the like analog stick on both of the controllers. So one of them has it on the backpack because it's, you know, up higher on that part of the Joy-Con, and then the other one has it as sort of like a purse. I thought that that would sort of symbolize the placement of the analog stick on both of the Joy-Cons really well. I also made their hair very like Joy-Con shaped, as well as their little dresses, and then the rest of the theme kind of came around the colors and the fact that one has a minus at the top and one has a plus at the top. So I ended up making that their barrette, as well as the shape in their eye. And I also gave them arm warmers. I actually don't know why I did that. I just really wanted to. For some reason, I felt like they should have them. I'm really trying to analyze why that might be, but I can't figure it out. I also gave them little keychains on their bags to sort of symbolize the shape of the D-pad and the buttons at the top of the red Joy-Con. And of course I matched all of their colors. They ended up being very monochromatic, except for little tiny like details in their eyes that I thought it would be cute if they were swapped, even though that's not as accurate, I guess. I wanted to make sure that they were almost entirely their own color, but the arm warmer is really convenient because then it made it a little bit more exciting because they're throwing their arms around each other. There's at least a little bit of contrast other than in their eyes. And I made sure that their legs were just plain black because, you know, the rest of the Joy-Con is black, so I didn't want it to be 100% monochromatic. I decided that the blue one would be the shyer one because it's, you know, a calmer color as well as being the minus, and the red Joy-Con would be the more like gregarious, outgoing one. Hopefully that comes across in their expressions and everything as well. I really wanted there to be a glowing part on these Joy-Cons as well, and there are a little there's a little green dot that glows on Joy-Cons, so I thought maybe I could incorporate that somewhere, but it kept looking too much like the green of like Xbox, and when I tried to do a red and blue glow, it just didn't really make any sense because there's nothing on the Joy-Con that really does that, so I struggled around with that for quite a while and then just settled on some tiny glowing green necklaces. Next up is one of my favorite controllers of all time, and that is the Wii. I know I did 2 Nintendo controllers in this one, but what can I say? They're just more of innovators when it comes to controllers, I feel like. If you look at the last few generations of Nintendo controllers, they all look really cool and different and interesting, so I had to do the Wii. So I was thinking, because the Wii is much older than the other ones, perhaps this character design would be like a older character, and I realized that the shape I was making kind of made her look like a nurse, so I'm kind of making her into sort of like this spooky kind of stoic nurse character. I really wanted her to be like aging gracefully because the Wii, I think, still holds up really well. And as for her age, she's probably at about in her like 40s or 50s, just because if you think about it, the controller is 2 generations away from the current one, so it would make sense that she's probably at least 40. So I wanted her to look very like elegant and put together, as well as just overall having that shape, that like sort of rounded rectangle, long, tall shape. I thought that she should have a little dog with her. That was actually an idea I got during a stream, that the nunchuck would sort of be represented by, and I tried really hard to make the shape of the nunchuck sort of fit with the dog, but it ended up looking extremely cursed, and I kind of love it, to be honest. And I really had fun designing her sort of like tunic dress thing that she's wearing, because the Wii does have a lot of little buttons on it that could look like the embellishments on a dress, so it worked really well. And lucky for me, it does have a light in it, so I was able to add some glow in the coloring stage without feeling too much like I was like forcing it. I made her sort of having the leash around her wrist to the nunchuck dog that she has, and he's looking really lumpy and weird, but I decided to try to just make the shape of the stick on the nunchuck into the like pattern on his face, because I couldn't make that dog pompadour work the way I wanted it to. And then for the colors, it was obviously super easy. I mean, talk about monochrome. This is literally just white with a tiny splash of like some powdery blue color. So I added just a little bit of value changes throughout to make her not completely one color. And I definitely added, of course, the glowing blue on the edge of her skirt, as well as making her dog's tongue blue. That was really it's obviously not a part of the nunchuck, but I just couldn't help it. I thought it looked so cute and so interesting, so I think this has got to be my favorite one. And honestly, I have a really soft spot for the Wii because it was my very first console. So here they all are together. Feel free to name them in the comments if you like, and I'll pick my favorite. It kind of looks like PS5 is crashing the Nintendo family reunion, so maybe I'll make some more in the future so it's more balanced. Thank you so much to Summoner's War for sponsoring this video. Summoner's War is the classic mobile turn-based RPG with 110 million installs. It is a beloved global hit with a huge active community worldwide. I've always loved games where you can collect allies and monsters, so this one's been a lot of fun. There's a global PvP arena if you want to fight other players, over 1,000 unique monsters to collect, weekly in-game events, and the ability to customize your own Sky Island. They're celebrating their 6-year anniversary right now by giving away 100 free summons. Check out the link in the description and find out who you'll summon. Thank you to all of my patrons, including Bald-Headed Potato, Bella Story, Best Kaiju, Braggy, Calpumpon, Lion, Don't Eat Soap, Dr. Casket, Ilaria Louie, Eric G, Greer the Animator, Griffix, Hachiyubi, Ice Cream Pal, Ivan Rodriguez, JJJ, Joseph Copel, Liblobla, Marina Costa, Mr. Dr. Pants, Nicole Ludwak, Nicolette Queen, Nora Cornelison, Ruin Wayne Crow, Some Mediocre Artist, the RC Moose, Throat Foam, XAM, and your boy ST.